sent you, I just like the look. All right.
12511, no public body may prevent a person from recording through audio or video technology and official meeting as long as the recording is reasonable, obvious, and not disruptive.
Okay.
Yep.
You got the source right in front of you. That's good. All right. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting of the Codington County Board of Commissioners to order. Today is Tuesday, April 28th. It is 9 a.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll have Sheriff Howell lead us this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sheriff. We will take public comment this morning. Public comment may be submitted in person or by calling on the telephone at 605-882-6248 or 882-6297. Moves on to item number 3. That's conflict of interest items. Commissioners, are there any?
No.
Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4. That is action to approve the April 28th agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Schwer, second by Gable. Any discussion on the agenda? And seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is action to approve the April 21st minutes.
Move. Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by McElhaney. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Yes, okay. Item number 6, we will do this in 2 separate motions. We will do you want to do the county and the city separate?
Yes, do the county board of equalization.
Okay. So we'll do the county Board of Equalization minutes from that meeting. We'll do that first. We'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by McElhaney. Second by Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now we'll look for a motion to approve the city meeting that was
So
held, the
moved.
Board of Equalization minutes. Motion by Schwer, second by Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Brings us up to item number 7, and that is discussion possible action relating to flock safety agreement as presented by Mr. James Simmons, who is present in person with us this morning. We'll ask him to come on up here. And Mr. Simmons, good morning. Go ahead and get your stuff set up there if you'd like, and go ahead and give us your presentation.
Hello, testing. Thank
Yep.
you. So good morning and thanks again for the time. I really appreciate it. Like you said, I'm James Simmons, here to speak once again on the agreement in place between Codington County and flock safety. And the last few times I've come out to speak, I really try to keep my concerns evidence-based. And so that's what I want to continue doing today, is speak on just the evidence of what's publicly known. So for starters, the cameras that are in question basically referred to as license plate readers. Personally, I feel that's a disingenuous framing of what the cameras can do. It's like referring to your cell phone as a text messaging device. Well, make sure I've got my text messaging device with me today. Like they're so much more powerful than that. It's dishonest to call it just a text messaging device. And it's the same thing with these cameras. They can do so much more than simply capture a license plate, that it's dishonest to call them a license plate reader. The footage that it can capture and then the system that it feeds into is so powerful. It's almost only limited by the imagination of the user. So you can search for a large amount of information. So it's a huge concern. But what I would like to adjust the topic today and talk about the claims of the benefits that the system can provide. So when Flock tries to sell the system, they try to, they make a few claims on what these systems can do. And some of those claims are that they can reduce or even eliminate crime. They've actually said that they can eliminate crime. They make the claim that they can find lost or missing children and minors. And they also make the claim that they can find stolen vehicles. And so I'd like to just talk about the evidence of those three claims. First, that they can reduce or eliminate crime. It's absurd to say that it can eliminate it, but the evidence on crime reduction rate is it's hard to find. There's actually no evidence out there to support that these can reduce crime. Not even by Flock. They don't even have any studies posted that they've funded and administered on their own to back up their claims. And they've got the biggest incentive to prove their claim that they can reduce crime. And so they have some generic claims on their website, but no evidence to back it up. But that's not to say the evidence does exist, because there are studies out there to show the impact on crime rates, both before and after Flock cameras have been installed. And the studies prove that there's a 0% impact on crime. They don't reduce anything. And well, that one's debunked. Next one is finding lost or missing minors, lost children. Again, sounds incredibly helpful for a community. Zero evidence to support it. You go to Flock's own website, what they say is they've helped find up to 100 missing kids in the life of the company across the nation. And so that's 5 years of operating nationwide. They've helped find possibly up to 100 kids, but they provide no evidence to support that. Nothing, no studies, no news articles, nothing to support it. Just a one sentence line on their website. And I've done the research. I've tried to find anything to back that up, news articles, publications, studies, and there's just nothing. There's no evidence to support even that one single child across the entire country has been helped to be located thanks to a Flock camera system. So again, just no evidence to support any value there. And then the final claim that they commonly make, and this is probably the most popular because it has the most evidence to support it, is it helps find stolen vehicles. Now, there actually is evidence behind it that it does help find stolen vehicles. And so there's an actual real benefit. So when you try to look at the improvements of the rates of recovery for stolen vehicles, it varies from municipality to municipality, but it looks like it's about a 20% increase on the recovery rate for stolen vehicles. Sounds pretty nice. Applying that to Codington County, based on what I could find, it looks like we've got about, on an annual basis, somewhere between 24 cars stolen a year, maybe 24 to 30 on the high end of stolen cars reported. And then going off of the case closure rate, which looks like it's about a 15% closure rate. Don't know if all those cars were found, but that's the amount of times we've closed the case on stolen vehicles. 15% of 25 vehicles, not a super great recovery rate, but if we can improve that by 20%, we're looking at finding an additional handful of stolen vehicles across the county over an entire year. So that's the biggest provable claim that these systems have for the community, is we can help find a handful of vehicles. And that's it. And so what's the trade-off? To get that benefit, what are we trading off? Well, I can get into that in a second. Let me just pause and see if you have any questions, any thoughts or concerns that I should stop and address.
Yeah, just keep going and we'll ask at the conclusion.
So what's the trade-off? The system is primed for abuse at every level. So it's common when you put a system like this in place that the department would put in place a policy to mandate what the officers or the deputies would have to do to use the system. Like you have to have a case number or you have to have a warrant or something like that to use the system. Most municipalities don't require a warrant. They often require a case number just to do an investigation. But that didn't stop the misuse of this. There's dozens of cases across the country, from Colorado, Ohio, Florida, California, where officers approved to use the system, had an approved login, logged in and used the system to stalk their ex-girlfriends or stalk their wife. Or there's one case, I forget the state, a male officer used the system to stalk a female officer. So it's like nobody's safe. So, and in these cases, the only reason we know about those particular instances is because those officers were terminated because they violated the policy. So they had a policy in place, but they violated it anyway. Or in some cases, there was laws in place to prevent this, and the officers broke the law and they were charged. So if there wasn't a termination or criminal charges filed, we probably wouldn't even have known about it. So then it begs the question, how many more cases of abuse are out there that we just don't know about? So, and that's just at the local law enforcement level. When you take it a step up to the Flock employees, again, I've mentioned in previous meetings that the terms and conditions we give Flock perpetual, worldwide, irrevocable access to all data in the system. So Flock employees can access everything in the system, every bit of footage that we put in there. And you might think, okay, well, how much harm can they do? Well, good question. Sidebar real quick. I mentioned also that Flock partners with other companies and gets data from other sources. So the one I'll speak on is like storefront security cameras. Like you go to Amazon or Walmart and you buy a security camera, put it up in your storefront because you're a prudent business owner. And that security camera has a subscription you can apply to and get the data online. Well, what you don't know is that security camera has a partnership with Flock, and all that footage from your storefront gets put into Flock. And so what happened is there's a case where there was security camera footage that was accessed, excuse me, security camera footage that was accessed in Dunwoody, Georgia, where the business in place was it was a community center. And the camera footage that was accessed was of the children's daycare, the children's pool, and the girls' gymnastics center. And so which law enforcement officer accessed that? It wasn't a law enforcement officer. It was an employee of Flock. And you might think, oh, well, it must have been some kind of system administrator or a program developer that works for Flock who has legitimate access to that data. Nope, it was their vice president of strategy, some executive who has access to private data from a local community. Shouldn't have access to it at all. He's accessing it to view footage of kids. So again, that's very concerning. I think everyone would agree with that. And then the next level up, like I've said before, Flock partners with a number of other agencies, federal agencies as well. It's interesting that Flock continually makes the claim that they don't share the footage with any federal agency. They don't share the footage with anybody who's unauthorized, but public records requests have got access data and logs and proven that to be a false claim. It's a lie. They're sharing the data and they're sharing access to the data with basically every three-letter agency in existence. The ICE, the Customs and Border Patrol, the DEA, the FBI. And what are they using it for? Well, they say they're looking for domestic terrorists. Well, who's a domestic terrorist? 5 years ago, it was anybody who opposed the election. And 5 months ago, it was anybody who opposed ICE. And during COVID, it was everybody was a domestic terrorist because you have to wear a mask and lock down. And so if you have a system like this in place, the surveillance is unstoppable. So I'll pause there. I'll end there and just open it up for any questions or debate. But I couldn't advocate strong enough to vote on the approval of this contract and to vote to cancel it. So.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Simmons? Commissioner McElhaney?
So you've been here 3 or 4 times now. My question is, since it's obvious you don't like Flock, and I'm sure there's other companies out there that do that, is there one that you would recommend to us instead?
That is a great question. They have a number of competitors. It's a very competitive market space. There's, aside from Flock, there's G-Tech, which I think the sheriff uses. There's Genetech, there's Motorola, there's Axon. All of them operate in this space, this industry, and all of their customers are basically, local governments and law enforcement. And what they're selling is surveillance. And so it's hard to recommend any one certain company because they're competing against each other to provide more and more invasive way to surveil the community. And so if I was going to make a recommendation, I would say, have a closed loop system that doesn't feed the data to the internet, which gets harder to administer, granted. But if I had to pick one of these, I'd say probably the one that the Watertown PD uses, which is Axon. They're maybe a step above Flock, but they still operate in this space. They still compete with Flock and everybody else to have stronger and stronger surveillance equipment. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Any other questions, commissioners? If not, thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here to speak on that issue regarding the Flock camera system? Go ahead and identify yourself and tell us what you'd like to speak about.
Doug Allen. And I'd just like to add a couple of comments to Mr. Simmons. Part of the concern, and this is, as you know, the city does use the flock camera system. I think we have a contract with Flock, not with Axon. I think we changed that. That's not correct.
No, it's Axon.
Okay, so I stand corrected. But one of the things that I understand from the police department, and this comes through our city manager, Alan Stagger, is that police officers are mostly spending their time clearing false alerts. That there's apparently no discernment relative to license plate numbers. So it could be a California license plate. It's the same number as a local license plate, and that gets flagged then, and the police officers have to do some work to check and go, oh, okay, that's not a South Dakota plate, and they have to spend time clearing those false alerts. I don't know how many times that happens, but it seems like they're spending all of their time doing that and not actually apprehending stolen vehicles and those kinds of things. I think the concerns that Mr. Simmons shared, I would share as well. Part of it's the expense of the system. And we approved a bundled contract as the city council that was over $1 million. And it was a bundle of things that included tasers and a variety of other things. That's a lot of money. And for a clearance rate that doesn't markedly improve, I think you have to do a cost benefit analysis. So what do you give up in terms of personal privacy, and what do you gain in terms of law enforcement? And I'm a huge supporter of local law enforcement because I think they do a great job overall. And I'm not sure that this technology actually adds much value to what our officers already do. And if it slows things down, or it has them pulling people over that are mistakes, I think that takes away from legitimate law enforcement. And how many times does that have to happen before you've really rendered your local law enforcement less effective than they were prior to this? So those I would say are some of my concerns as well with regard to the system. It's a lot of money, and there are obviously lots of potential abuses of it. And as Mr. Simmons said, not a huge amount of evidence that it really is worth the cost. And as a taxpayer, I'm concerned about where my tax dollars go and whether they really markedly add to safety and security. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank
I
you,
can take
Mr.
any
Allen.
questions too, but
Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, come on up. Mr. Simmons.
Thank
Mhm.
One thing that Mr. Allen reminded me of that's worthy of your attention is that Watertown does use Axon cameras, and the agreement that was initially put in place, like you said, was for tasers and body cameras and dashboard cams. That's what the initial agreement was. That's what was talked about in city council and voted on and approved. But now after that's in place, now that's expanding to include drones as well. So Watertown already has like privately closed loop drones that you can manually operate, but now they're including Axon drones. So now it's feeding all the footage into the Axon system as well. Flock offers drones. So is that going to be something that the sheriff also introduces, is Flock drones? There's a number of other different products that they offer that I didn't touch on, but like it's a common theme across the nation is when they implement a system, they talk about something innocuous like license plate readers, but then a year or 2 years down the road, it expands to other products that the company offers, which are much more invasive. And there's a whole rabbit hole I can get down. I'd love to talk if you want to hear about what those look like, but it's very concerning. So that's that's where I hesitate to recommend any certain company because they all compete to offer more and more products. And once you have the contract in place, you can expand that to more products. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question for this gentleman.
Mr. Simmons.
Chairman. We got an email or a text or something here a while back about the flock also assisting with audits. Can you explain or
What
what is,
kind of audits?
well, I'm sure it was,
Viewing audits, I'm sure.
yeah.
It's viewing.
Mhm.
I'm not viewing audits.
Well, I'm sure, and I'm sure that the sheriff is going to expand on this when he talks about it, but I'm
Okay.
sure it's an audit of the system to see who's reviewing the material.
Oh, so from what I understand is Flock is, they have a pretty decent logging system where anybody who accesses the system and then conducts a search, it logs all of those logins and then it logs all of those searches. And so the system is auditable. But from what I understand, Flock doesn't do any of that. They leave it up to the local customer to do that. So it would be up to the county or up to the sheriff or the city in Axon's case to conduct those audits. And that's something that's been a pretty big topic of conversation for public records requests. The citizens want to see those logs. They want to see what's being searched and who's doing the searches. So that's kind of brought to light a lot of the abuses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe I should have taken like a proponent and then an opponent type thing, I guess. Is there anybody else to speak? Sheriff, do you want to speak on this or not? Okay. Yeah, for discussion and possible action on the contract. So, okay. All right. All right. So I guess we are seeking motion related to Mr. Simmons' request on this flock safety agreement. Is there a motion? So I'm not sure.
Next, if it's home and you approve Mr. Simmons, then you're denying the second one. So I would.
So we should take the sheriff then next. Okay. Okay.
All right with me.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. So let's just postpone any action on that until we get up. Sheriff, you want to come on up? This is item number 8. This is discussion possible action to approve the Flock LPR contract. It's kind of confusing how it is on the agenda.
Like Brad.
Morning.
Brent.
Morning, Brad.
How's it going today?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah,
A lot of paper
a
there.
lot of paper. You guys would grab one of those, pass them down. Also, grab one of these and pass them down. Lee is gonna pull up on the screen there. He's got get a little PowerPoint to kind of address some of these concerns that we're hearing about. Get that pulled up and kind of get it started.
Can you see that okay on there?
Yep, we can see it here.
Okay.
Oh, it's. That's the first slide. No, I think you're a few slides. Yeah, I think you're ahead there a little bit.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, everybody
Okay.
got one? I think that was just an extra one there. Yeah, cool.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
All right, we'll start there. If you want to jump to the next slide there, Lee, we'll just do a quick run view of Flock. We actually got a few videos of Flock and it kind of shows exactly the software and kind of how it works, the auditing process, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we come up. If you got questions, feel free to throw them out to me here. Lee, do you want to play the first one there?
Okay, let me go through that. I gotta change windows here real quick.
And when we're talking about Flock, we're kind of talking about ALPR, automatic license plate readers. What that does is just takes a snapshot of a vehicle. It looks at the plate, runs it through NCIC, and like you say, does check to see if that vehicle's stolen, if there's any NCIC hits on there. When I'm saying NCIC, that's the National Criminal Information Center. That is the federal national database that law enforcement goes and puts their crime and information into, so we can check and see if there's a stolen vehicle, stolen items, missing people. That's where law enforcement backgrounds are done on people, like all that is kind of in this database, so.
Ready to go?
Yep.
Is this, I think this is the correct one.
You getting her to work on your end there, Lee? We're not seeing anything yet.
Oh, you're not seeing it? Okay. Hold on a second. I'm not sure why. You're not able to see anything?
We see us now.
Okay. Let me try this again. Okay. So it was working fine before. Okay.
It's that MacBook.
No. Come on. Okay. All right. So I'm sharing. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
No,
no, there's
could
nothing.
be a line of something.
Huh,
I need-
okay.
Need to hook up the flock.
Oh, okay. I think I know what to do. Okay. Hold on. Sorry. Let me just to try this now. All right. Oh, okay.
Can we come back to the videos, Brad?
Yeah, we could probably come back to the videos here. We'll talk about a
Okay.
few others here.
Can you see that now?
There we're getting, yeah.
Can't read
Okay.
it.
Okay, let me back it up there. So I apologize. I've never shared off of this kind of technique here.
And we don't have any sound though.
No sound.
I
Okay.
guess we can read the,
Okay. Captions.
Okay. Give me a second here. Yeah, you can read the captions, but let me try this again properly. I'm not sure why the sound is not sharing. Okay, here we go. Now I see what I did. Apologize for that.
I think the videos are kind of important because it actually shows the use of the software a little bit. Just 3 1-minute videos. We can get them to work here.
Are they on YouTube, Brad?
They are on YouTube.
Can we pull up a different browser and just watch them on YouTube?
We might be able
Here.
to. Brent, you got the link. don't you?
Enforcement leaders and elected
There we go.
officials
We're good.
know what officers are doing in the flock system. First,
Yeah, Lee, it's working.
every search and sharing request is logged. Every search records who ran it, when, and why. Agency administrators can run audits to identify any searches that don't match normal casework. Agencies also own and control all of their data. Each law enforcement agency decides if and how they share their data, unless laws and policies dictate otherwise. Agencies can approve or deny data access requests from other law enforcement agencies on a one-on-one basis or by geographic radius. Some agencies will choose to join statewide or nationwide sharing networks where possible, and that's their choice. It's never auto-approved, and they can change these settings at any time. Flock is designed to provide evidence with transparency and accountability built in, because we believe everyone has a right to be safe.
So Myron, you were kind of talking about auditing the system a little bit. Our office, we actually have a policy in place that we audit all our tracks every month. We go back between myself or the chief deputy here, and we audit any searches that we have in the flock system, just to make sure that we're not, just like Mr. Simmons was saying, we're not tracking boyfriends, girlfriends, or something like that. And every search that's done in flock, according to our policy, we have to have it attached to a case. So there's got to be an actual case that we're working. And then in the case notes, we actually put in there that we did a flock search for said vehicle. So we're documenting everything on that side of things when we're talking about auditing. So looked like you were going to have a question there, Troy.
So if we looked at the audit logs and compared those to the
Cases and calls,
cases and calls for service, they would match up
they would
then.
match out. Yeah.
Okay.
That is something that we put in our policy, and we are auditing that to make sure that they're and legit.
So do they have to verify that they're looking at a particular case before they can draw information from the?
Essentially, if you're searching for a vehicle in flock, or if you're searching something in flock there's got to be a case involved with it. So there's a reason that we're actually in flock. So there's another step involved, I guess, in there before you just go and run a random plate in flock. It's got to match up with our cases and calls.
Okay,
So another checks and balances of our office that we're doing just to make sure that it's not being abused. So. Any questions on that? We'll jump to the next video if you're ready, Lee.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I build software at Flock. When you hear Flock LPR search, you may imagine some open, unrestricted database. Here's what the license plate reader search process actually looks like. The Flock system has built-in safety guardrails that limit who can access our tools. Law enforcement agencies also set rules based on their own policies. When an investigator is working on a specific case, say a kidnapping, they enter the offense type, case number, why they're searching, and narrow it down to a time and a place. Flock requires users to log why they're running an LPR search. If there's a match, the LPR search helps them figure out which car was there. And it does not give law enforcement any information on who was in that car, either the driver or any passengers. That's it. A focused tool to solve real cases. That means missing people come home faster, more justice for victims, and overall better safety for everyone.
You want to pull the next one up, Lee?
Yeah, give me
Run that
one
one quick,
second
too.
here. Give me a moment. Yeah, gotta start sharing. It's a little bit of jumping back and forth on screens to do this. So, but
One of the things that we kind of started this conversation here is being about transparency. And that's why we are having these meetings, and that's why we're talking about this, having this discussion a little bit. So I think transparency is important. You ready, Lee?
yeah. For some reason, Zoom is covering up my.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I build software at Flock. A fair question we get a lot. How do police chiefs, law enforcement leaders, and elected officials know what officers are doing in the Flock system? First, every search and sharing request is logged. Every search records who ran it, when, and why. Agency administrators can run audits to identify any searches that don't match normal casework. Agencies also own and control all of their data. Each law enforcement agency decides if and how they share their data, unless laws and policies dictate otherwise. Agencies can approve or deny data access requests from other law enforcement agencies on a one-on-one basis or by geographic radius. Some agencies will choose to join statewide or nationwide sharing networks where possible, and that's their choice. It's never auto-approved, and they can change these settings at any time. Flock is designed to provide evidence with transparency and accountability built in, because we believe everyone has a right to be safe.
You want to jump to the next slide there, Lee?
Yeah, sorry. Did I show the wrong one, or was that the one you wanted to show?
Yeah, we've seen that one already. We'll just jump past the videos.
Okay. Apologize. I just had the wrong one clicked up, I think so. All right. Let me share the slides again. Okay.
One more.
I can do this video now. I can see if it'll do it.
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I build software at Flock. A fair question we get a lot. How do police chiefs, law enforcement leaders, and elected officials know what officers are doing in the Flock system? First,
I think that's the same
every
one, Lee.
search and sharing request
That was
is
the
logged.
bottom. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah, we can skip the videos. Let's jump to the next slide.
Okay. Yeah, apologize. Okay.
Basically, can ALPR track everyone everywhere? Well, like you say, we have 4 stationary cameras out in the county that are placed out there, and we have 12 vehicle cameras that are set up in our squad cars. So when our cars are out and about driving and patrolling, it's running every plate that it comes across. It's not biased, it's not racially, it's running every plate, it's checking to make sure that that vehicle isn't stolen, making sure that that vehicle doesn't have a missing person or kid or anything like that in there. What that's done, it's actually taken some of the restraint off the guys of having to actually type in the plates and actually run them as they see them. To address Mr. Simmons's issue there with seeing a vehicle and it might be an Arkansas plate and it might mistakenly think it's a South Dakota plate. Again, built into policy here, deputies have to run that vehicle. If it comes back as a hit on a vehicle, you still got to run that vehicle through NCIC to make sure that that's confirmed vehicle hit. Because the flock ALPR is actually only saying that there's a hit on this vehicle. It's not giving us any information. It's saying that this is potentially a stolen vehicle. So the deputy still has to do a little research, as like Doug was saying there. You still got to go into the computer, reconfirm that that is a stolen vehicle. Again, that's checks and balances. It's one more layer just to make sure that we're not stopping the wrong vehicle or doing something on the lines of that. Anything else I'm missing there, Brad?
No, like Sheriff Powell mentioned, that this is things that the law enforcement officers and patrol cars are doing all the time. They're constantly running plates, checking for a stolen vehicle, checking for amber alert hits, those kinds of things. The software is doing it for you and it's making it safer to do that.
Want to jump to the next one? Here's one that we hear about a lot. Does ALPR violate the Fourth Amendment? You can see up there, over 30 plus courts have upheld the use of LPR evidence. It's basically only seeing what the human eye would see out there, right? So it's not seeing anything else. They run the license plate through NCIC hot list, notify if there's a hit on the vehicle. Probably jump to the next one, Lee. Is ALPR data shared across the country? Data sharing is controlled by the sheriff's office here. And yes, we do share our data with other law enforcement agencies near us. When we get to the very end of the slideshow, we'll kind of show some examples of why that's important. So we do share our ALPR data and we get to pick and choose who we want to and how far we want to share that around. So jump to the next one. You can run with this one, right?
Yeah, what's it collecting? It's just collecting that still image of the vehicle. It's collecting the characteristics on that. So if there's a pickup with a Chevy sticker across the back window, how you commonly see, you can search that. If maybe a reporting party didn't get a license plate on the vehicle, but they saw that it's a black Chevy pickup with a Chevy emblem across the back window, that gives us the ability to search that through our database and the flock database to see, you know, what is that license plate? Is that vehicle? Where is that vehicle? How does that vehicle travel in the past? Do we have any data or information that we can grab from that still image and put that in the NCIC to see who that person is that owns that vehicle, an address that it could be at, you know, those types of things. But the block system or the ALPR system is not giving you that information. It's giving you, again, that still image of what the regular eye would see when that vehicle's driving down the road. There's no PII information, there's no addresses associated with that. There's no DMV records, there's nothing that connects the driver of that vehicle, us to the driver. You have to look at that image, get the plate, and then go to the NCIC database, and you would have to find that information yourself as an officer.
This data is owned by the sheriff's office. It's not sold out to everywhere else. It is our data and it's held for 30 days. Want to jump to the next one, Lee? There's a concern out there that ALPR is targeting who's in the vehicle. Actually, a couple slides down here will actually show a couple of our squad cars that were targeted and shown. You can't see who's in the car. It doesn't use facial recognition. Like say again, it's just taking a picture of the plate and we're running the vehicles there. We jump to the next one, Lee. This one here we'll talk a little bit about why are some of the LPRs being removed from the cities. A lot of misinformation. There's some fear mongering, misleading headlines, some political framing here, speculation of all kinds of different things. Significant discussion about cities reconsidering ALPRs. There have been a handful that are going away from it. And like I say, a lot of it is just the misinformation that's out there. Some of it is lack of policy to kind of address Mr. Simmons' concern. Some agencies don't have a robust policy in place and auditing purposes like we do in place here. So those are some of the discussions of why ALPR is removed from a few of the cities out and about. Once we get all said and done here, I know Tina's online here or was online with Flock. She'll be able to answer some of these more in-depth questions that we may not answer here. If you want to jump to the next one, Lee. Brent, you want to run with this one?
Yep. So how are we managing that software?
Brett, can you have him turn his mic on?
Oh, there we go. We got it.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. So how are we managing that software? We have strict policy guidelines for the use. We do that, like Sheriff Hall mentioned, we do routine auditing, and I'm cross-referencing all of those case numbers with our Zerker system or Central Square system to make sure that, you know, that there is a tie to that case. And if there is a question, I can get a hold of the officer and ask them. Transparency to the community. We've been completely transparent about this whole thing. We have nothing to hide on it. Absolutely nothing. Restricted access. We only give access to the people that we want to give access to. We're in control of the software. Like Sheriff Hall mentioned, it's our data. We choose who we want to have that data. Use is tied to legitimate investigations, and hot list management restricted to supervisors and department administrators. So we can develop hot lists in that system if there are people of interest that we're looking at. But that is all governed and under control by administration and our investigators. So limited retention periods. Our data only stays for 30 days, and then it's gone. It's no more than that. So that any images captured outside of that 31st day is gone. You can go to the next slide, please. What can the ALPRs detect? Again, they can capture that still image of the vehicle, exactly what you see when you look out the window and you see the car driving down the road. Exactly what your cameras on your house see every time a vehicle passes by your house. It can see the license plate. It can see the vehicle unique characteristics. You know, is there a missing bumper on that car? You can search by that detail. NCIC hits on the vehicle or plate. It does run all those license plates that it detects through that NCIC system, and it'll tell us if there's any ties to that. And then again, hot list management. If we are investigating a person and they are in our hot list system, it'll give us that when we come across that vehicle or when a camera detects that vehicle. You can go to the next slide, Lee.
There's a couple pictures of what the images look like of our squad cars out in the county there. What it's doing is snapping a quick picture. That camera can tell the license plate there. It runs that license plate to make sure that it's there. You can see it's difficult to see inside those vehicles. You can't see people in there. Want to jump to the next one? What can't the ALPRs detect? Traffic offenses. There's some people are thinking that these traffic cameras out there, maybe watching stop signs or speeding or something like that. That is illegal in the state of South Dakota. So these are not looking to see if you're stopping at a stop sign. They're not looking to see if you're speeding or anything like that. So it's not looking for traffic offenses. It's not pulling any personal identifying information. It's not doing continuous tracking. It's not racially biased or anything like that. It's again running license plates. No facial recognition. Want to jump to the next one there, Lee? Want to know this one, Brent?
Yeah. These are just some we just highlighted some case examples of how or cases that involve ALPR systems where it was a huge benefit to have that. This is Ivan Miller, 22, accused of killing a Utah woman, stealing her vehicle and driving it to a nearby trailhead. Once at the trailhead, Miller killed 2 more women who were hiking together before fleeing in one of their vehicles. The vehicle's plate was entered in an ALPR system, which notified law enforcement that Miller had fled to Colorado in the vehicle. Authorities in Colorado located and arrested Miller on March 5th. So out of 6,675 vehicles passing that ALPR camera that day, only suspect's vehicle was flagged. This illustrates the targeted use of the ALPR system and not mass tracking.
Want to jump to the next one, Lee? Here's just a very quick one. Illinois Senator Meg was shot at her home there. Authorities were able to find her with the help of ALPR. When I was reading this news story there, the chief of that department there actually made the comment that they would not have found the shooter without ALPR. So like I say, help find that shooter there. We've got like 4 or 5 more nationally ones. You could probably skip through all of them, but they're just showing all the benefits. There's another one. There's another one nationally. Another one nationally, sex trafficking ring, missing juveniles right here. Spokane County deputies were alerted by an LPR hit on a stolen vehicle. Traffic stop was initiated. Found a 17-year-old runaway and a 15-year-old reported missing. 2 juveniles. So there's thousands of cases of success out there with ALPR. Want to jump to the next one? Here's some local cases here that we, the police department and the sheriff's office were actually primarily assisted with the use of LPR. You can see there was a couple stolen vehicles that were called in from a surrounding county that has LPR, notified us that there was a stolen vehicle coming our way. We were able to stop and arrest the driver. You can see there was another one stolen from Watertown, another one missing person in Watertown, another one missing person in Watertown, and a stolen vehicle here. So those are some local cases here that LPR did help primarily solve. There's many other instances where it was used in an investigation, but it wasn't the primary source of being able to locate a stolen vehicle and or a missing person. So I want to jump to the next one, Lee.
Our big picture takeaways, improved missing person juvenile recovery. That is a highlight feature of what this software can do. It is safer for law enforcement. Like Sheriff Hall alluded to, is they're not, that system is running all those plates that you come across without the law enforcement officer having to do that. That lets them be more focused on what's going on around them, situational awareness. Stronger investigations and evidence. It's an evidence collecting tool if we choose to use it as that. Faster response to critical incidents, cross jurisdiction coordination, and increased likelihood of seizing stolen property. You can go to the next one, Lee. That's
all right. That's the last one. When we're talking about this here, the expense is $21,700 for 4 cameras and then the 12 car cameras. That's a yearly expense here. When you start looking at the expense of that, that's a lot cheaper than hiring a deputy and having a deputy out and about to try to help cover some of these areas. So the expense wise, I think it's a good use of taxpayer dollars to be able to help manage. You can see some of the local primarily assisted cases that were actually solved from the use of LPR. So if you look at, I gave you guys all a copy here. There's many pages of agreement. They did address Mr. Simmons's concerns there about the master services agreement. They did put that into the contract here. Basically, it's the terms and conditions. I've had our state's attorney read this over and she agrees and is supportive of the project. That you want to say anything?
Yeah. Both my, all the still leads, you're fine. I help myself.
Very, but yeah, right.
Couple of comments, and I wear a couple of kind of different hats because I am the chief law enforcement official of the county and I have the opportunity to work with the Watertown Police Department and the Codington County Sheriff's Office with this technology. But I also have the responsibility of reviewing contracts. So from a contractual perspective, I have reviewed that contract. Everything appears to be in order. I did have another attorney also take a look at it because of the concerns that were brought up. And there was nothing that stuck out as something that could cause a potential exposure for the county that would be any different than any of the other contracts that we signed. So that's from my legal perspective. From my law enforcement perspective, I think there's a lot of misinformation out here. Because I have the privilege of working with these agencies, I've seen ALPR, I've seen FLOC be used in these cases. The list of cases that are listed on the board is minimal compared to what's actually occurring in the field. Law enforcement is using this tool consistently. Again, it's a tool in the toolbox. The privacy invasion is much less than carrying your cell phone around in your pocket because frankly, it doesn't take much for your cell phone provider to turn over that data to law enforcement. That includes your location data. You know, when we're out on a suspicious death scene, that ALPR comes in it comes in handy. It's a nice tool to be able to use. But again, we're not making arrests simply because of ALPR. The idea that law enforcement are sitting there spending their entire shift clearing out false hits it's false. I mean, there is time that is spent into that, but it's not a full shift thing. And of course, I don't speak on behalf of the Watertown Police Department, but I have seen it be used and have seen it be successful in our investigations. And frankly, homicide, and if you have one homicide investigation that this system is used and ends up you're getting the right bad guy, that's money in the taxpayer's pocket. So I think it's important to understand that just about every tool law enforcement uses is going to have problems. People are going to have issues with it because it does feel like the government is overstepping. But one, I want to applaud the sheriff's office for being transparent. I'm super big on transparency. But two, again, this is an important tool from a law enforcement perspective. It's an important tool when it comes to prosecuting these cases. And so, you know, taking that aside from reviewing the contract, I am a proponent of the ALPR or the flock system.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, any other comments?
We did have Tina online, if there was any questions for Flock in general. I don't know if we've answered those.
I have a question.
Sure.
In 24, 25, we were using some other automatic license plate reader besides
The
Flock.
sheriff's office was not.
Oh, you were not.
The PD was,
the
we're
PD
using
Oh,
Avalon.
okay.
The police department was, and surrounding agencies around us are. And some of those information came from surrounding agencies that we were able to use.
So we haven't been like having a system and replacing with Flock. This isn't adding this system to the sheriff's.
This is something that we're adding a system to, another tool to the toolbox, yes.
Okay.
I have a question. We were told, and yeah, I think that this is the way I understood it, correct me if I'm wrong, but okay, we make the decision not to go forward with this contract. And the cameras are out there. The ones that are on trial, on the trial run. Somebody said, you take the cameras down, and they were approached by Flock and said, you have to leave those cameras there. They're ours, and that information belongs to us. I didn't like that comment at all.
That's fear mongering. That's not truthful.
And that's what I'm wondering.
That is not
That's
truthful.
One of
That-
those false
something-
statements that we're getting that isn't true.
That is a false statement. That's not true.
Because then you say, okay, then 30 days and all the information is gone. What good does it do you in court?
That is something that we could pay more and we can keep that data retention longer. But like say, 30 days was just an average time that we figured we would, if we don't find what we need within that 30 days, it can be gone.
I mean, I love that because that'd expedite the court case.
Yeah.
We would
We would
hold
document
that, we would extract that within those
Yeah.
30 days, knowing the
Okay.
court case isn't gonna be done in 30 days, we would get that information off the system and save that. That would be documented in our reports, you know, the hits and everything would all be documented. That data would eventually be eliminated, but in the system, but we would have saved that data. We would have pulled it from the system.
Because I can see it as a tremendous asset when you go to court. to Have that
Absolutely.
video, but if now you can tell me you can't get access to it.
Yeah, we would have saved that as
Yeah.
long as we knew about it within that 30-day period, you know, and if we discovered that within that
Good,
time.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, just a quick,
Commissioner Gable.
just to piggyback on what was just said. So as I understand it, Brett, you guys just save it to the case file basically as a separately from the system. So save it locally.
Correct.
For something. And then the other question, just back on the clearing, unnecessary warnings, I guess, have you guys experienced, just to hear from you guys in the test period, have you experienced any of that?
We've gotten a few stolen license plate hits, a few stolen vehicle hits on those stationary cameras out there. We have gotten those hits. We have not had anyone that has been able to stop that vehicle in particular at that point in time, just because they might have been on the other side of the county or what.
Yeah.
So There has been some other hits. We've gotten a lot of hits, I should say, on investigations that we have ongoing right now that are tied to cases that I can't really discuss at this time. But yes, it has been a useful tool in the trial period.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Any other questions or?
One quick one. What is the length of this contract?
This is a 2-year contract.
2-year contract.
Yep.
And the fee you're saying is annual.
Annual, 21.7 annually.
And obviously you did budget for this.
This is in the budget for this year, correct?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to make just a few comments to clarify a few things. I'm familiar with the cameras. When City of Madison first implemented the cameras into their city, I went down and had a meeting with the chief and had an opportunity to see where they had placed them in this throughout the city. And at that time, it seemed like it was government like overreach, and I wasn't real sure that I was sold on the importance of what that would bring to a community until started hearing stories about how stolen vehicles are being located, and people that are involved in crimes, if that information is put into the system, it's flagged and alerts are coming out. I know that Madison, I believe the chief had told me that they had solved a rape case using that technology of having the cameras in the city. And so there is value to this. One thing that I find very disturbing to me is that it seems in today's day and age that it's easy to blame law enforcement for the overreach in a lot of this. And so I think we need to get back to understanding that we trust our law enforcement officers based on the oath that they take to do their jobs ethically and with a high degree of accountability. That when they take that oath that they're not going to abuse the technology that is being put into place today that's going to help them do their jobs today and tomorrow. Our world is changing with technology, with AI technology, with camera systems. You drive down a city residential street, you'll see more homes with cameras than you don't. It's the way of the world. And so I commend the sheriff for looking into this. As it relates to the statistics on the reduction and elimination of crime, I know that if I knew that there was a camera there, I wouldn't do the crime. If I knew that Codington County had ALPRs and I just robbed a bank, well, I'm probably not going to be in Codington County, right? And I know that if how these cameras can be used as tools for the investigation of crimes. When I was a detective sergeant, I would have loved to have this technology, because if I have a suspect and they're accused of doing a burglary or a robbery or something like that, and I go in and I have the information on their vehicle and I enter that into the system, I can maybe put that vehicle in the same proximity of a robbery or a burglary. And that could help tie that individual to that crime. That's just one more tool in the investigative process. So there is value to that. With that being said, I would also like to just basically state that I have faith in the sheriff's office and their ability to audit this and keep track of this system. It's in place for a reason. We elect our sheriff to do that and to make sure that that's done ethically and morally. And I have no doubt sitting here today that that's going to be done. So I don't have any reservations with this. And I look forward to seeing what tomorrow brings, as long as it's abused, as long as it's not abused, excuse me. We have checks and balances in place for our NCIC, our National Crime Information Center. Strictest that you would ever see. If anybody even comes into our 911 center and they have the ability to see our computer screens, they have to go through the NCIC course just because they could be exposed to that information and sitting in there. So there's a high degree of accountability as it relates to that. And I would compare that type of access to this type of access as well.
Correct.
This is going to be highly restricted information that's only going to be used and attached to case reports. And it's going to be audited at the very highest levels of law enforcement in Codington County. And if that means our state's attorney has to audit the audit, great. You know, whatever that process is, I don't know. But I'm not convinced that there's going to be an abuse of the situation. As far as NCIC and the data that officers are getting during their investigations and out on the street, I can't tell you the last time when we've had a violation of an NCIC rule where someone was actually arrested and charged locally with our local law enforcement. So, and I know what happens, Mr. Simmons, I know what happens. In bigger cities, we've seen the abuse of the system. But I think we have good law enforcement, and my faith and trust is in them that they're going to do the right thing with this system. So I have no doubt. That's all I got.
Chair, I have one more question.
Mr. Johnson.
Let's get down to the dollars and cents. You said 21,700. I saw a number a while back. It was 42 or something like that, 4,300.
I don't,
Now, did they want us to pay 2 years ahead? Or are we being charged for running a test on it now, or? Let's
initially,
get down, what's the dollar line? What's the bottom line here?
the bottom line is 21,700 per year. That gives us 12 vehicle cameras set up and then the 4 stationary cameras that we have out in the county.
Starting when? May?
Starting, yeah, it'd be May 1st. The end of this free trial is done the end of the month here, April 30th.
Okay,
Sheriff, one more question. I guess I do have a question. How do you determine where these cameras are placed? And is that going to be public knowledge?
Yeah, I've actually shared with anybody who's asked where they're at. You
Okay.
can see them as you're driving around on the county. It's a that little solar panel with a little camera and a black pole along the side of the road. How we place those, we looked at more high traffic and higher crime areas where there's a lot of, look back at our statistics to see where we've had more issues. Kind of put them out there in the county, and that's where we placed them. It is something that if we want to move them in the future, Flock agrees we can move them. There'd be a very small fee that we can move them to a different part of the county if we wanted to do something like that. So
Is that something that Flock has to come in and move the cameras, or?
Flock
you're-
actually, yeah, they got a guy that lives in Pierre that would actually be able to come out and move them for us. So
Okay, all right.
if we wanted to move them.
Any questions? Okay,
Make a motion to approve.
all right. We have a motion by Gable to approve the contract with
Second.
Flock and a second by McElhaney. Commissioners, any discussion? Seeing none, we will ask for a roll call vote on this. We will do votes individually. So, Madam Auditor.
Van Duzen,
Aye.
Johnson,
aye.
Schwer,
Aye.
McElhaney,
Aye.
Gable,
Aye.
I guess, so 0 no.
Motion carries for the Flock LPR contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the trust in the office. So
All right, let's move on to, we need to do anything with the other, that one just automatically dies in. So, all right, Sheriff, you're up for your monthly report.
right.
Number 9, please.
some more paper here to pass around.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons and Councilman. Thank you.
All right, start with the monthly report there. First page you guys see, it's the commissary monthly balance sheet. Bank balance end of March 2026 was $21,513.86. Break that down a little bit. There was $2,154.29 in the lobby ATM booking kiosk. If you break it down a little further, you can see the resident balances were $2,532.26. Commissary items and tax not dispersed, $3,329.32. And the funds balance was $17,806.57 for our grand total $23,668.15. If you jump down to the bottom there, you can see some handwritten notes. Those numbers came in fresh off the press this morning here. So commissary commission was $1,109.62. Phone commission was $366.58. and kiosk commission was $350.27 for a grand total of $1,826.47. The phone commission will be changing a little bit federally. Feds changed the amount that the jails can charge on phone calls and video stuff. So those numbers will be changing, and that went into effect beginning of March. So you'll see that number change over as we get going a little further. So if you'll jump to the next page, monthly balance sheet, bank balance into March 26th, $15,067.07. If you break that down a little bit, fingerprint fees collected were $40, copy fees collected were $12, sheriff's fees collected $12,116, and $1,659.57 in executions that were collected, and $350 in warrant fees collected for a grand total of $14,177.57, leaving our total back to $889.50. Jump onto the next page there. You'll see up on the top, I'm sure you'll be able to pull up that on the screen here. Lee, you got one emailed to you this morning with the updated March on there. So if you look at March, the cases and calls for service, 535 cases and calls for service for the month of March. You can see from February that jumped up considerably, about 130 more cases and calls for service in the last 3 months, actually. Yeah, there was 5 accident reports completed, 60 warrants that were served, 238 civil papers served, and 1,693 transport miles for a total of 10 trips and 12 people that were transported in the month of March. If we jump down to some jail activity here, month of March, our average daily population was 52.81. 57 was our high ADP, and that was on the 7th. Low ADP was 49, and that was on the 15th. On our 24/7 program, we had 18 people on the scram bracelet, 13 people on the remote breath, 49 people on our twice daily PBT, and 59 people on the twice weekly UA, and 1 person on the sweat patch, for a grand total of 140 participants on the 24/7 program. You can see that's definitely a lot higher than our jail population, which was 52.81. So we jump on down to the bottom there, there's some $17,646.94 in out-of-county contracts that came in. There was $2,090 in work release fees that came in, and 24/7 fees, $14,147 that came in. Just a couple things to kind of talk about here in the office here. I want to thank the city, if Doug is still here, thank the city, because the city did surplus 8 Taser 7s to the sheriff's office that we're going to be using for our reserves and a couple part-time deputies that we have. So I just want to publicly thank the city for that. That was really nice of them. They've upgraded to the Taser 10s, so that's a good use of being able to use that equipment here. So, and another thing that we're working on is the chief is kind of looking tentatively and potentially, possibly, maybe being able to add on to the firearms range. And he's kind of reached out to some local leaders here in the community to see what we could bring to the table. Since we're building a new detention center and there may be extra spoils of dirt and clay, we should know more in August if there's how much is left over. But if there's any leftover spoils of clay that we would have to pay to haul out, we would potentially donate that to the city and let them have that for their firearms addition for the law enforcement part of that law enforcement range that they're looking at do. That's just a tentative thing that we're just kind of looking at, toying with, but I do want to share that we are working with the city on that as well. So any questions there? I know I had a couple more things on the agenda too, so
We'll go ahead and take those if there's no question. Now, item number 10 is action to advertise and hire a full-time deputy position due to a resignation at the sheriff's office.
I have a deputy that's been with me for a few years. He's going to move back to his hometown and switch careers and start selling insurance. So that leaves a vacancy within our Chandler Flowers. Deputy Flowers is going to move back to his hometown and start selling insurance where his
Motion
family
to
is.
approve.
Second.
To approve by Gable, second by McElhaney. Discussion.
Kind of the same risk factor there, is it?
Better hours, better pay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Action to approve the purchase of 2 vehicles for the sheriff's office is budgeted in 2026.
All right, 2026, I did budget for 2 vehicles, And this year, I plan on purchasing a
Durango.
Pacifica.
Oh,
Got some copies here.
Pacific.
2026 Pacifica.
Yeah.
And that's going to replace one of our transport vans that has 160,000 miles on it. Not a patrol car. So we would save some expenses of having to outfit it a little bit. The grand total on that one was $40,780. I am looking at doing these and buying these locally here with Watertown Ford. They've been working with me closely on those. The next one here is a patrol vehicle. Want to take this copy and pass them down.
Yeah.
This one here is for 2026 1500 tradesman Ram crew cab pickup, which we will use for patrol. And that one is $46,472. And like I say, both of these are, everybody get a copy of that. It's like I have one extra here.
Sheriff, what do we get for trade-in on our vehicles?
Watertown Ford has been really generous to us on trade-ins. We don't get that number until these vehicles get back to us here. They have agreed that they will trade these in.
Is it better to do the trading, you think, or to put them on?
I've looked and I've kind of followed that a little bit. Watertown Ford has treated us really well.
Good.
So this number here is what we're paying. And then when we, sometimes it's several months and they might have many more miles on them by then.
Mm-hmm.
When we get closer, they'll do a quick look at them and they'll give us a number at that time. I'll bring it up to the board like I usually do and ask for permission to trade those in. We can do a sale. In the past, those get to be a little difficult, and Watertown Ford has treated us very well for an old squad car.
On the pickup,
Motion
I
to-
get 48,252. Oh, there's an upgrade.
Yeah, 46,472.
All right.
Yeah, 46,470. And then 40,780 for the Pacifica. For the transport vehicle.
Both upgrade.
Chair, motion to approve.
Motion to approve
Second.
by McElhaney, second by Commissioner Schwer. Any discussion? Thanks for buying local. Appreciate that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Number 12 is action to declare miscellaneous equipment at the sheriff's office surplus to be destroyed. Golly. Sheriff.
Was that some computer that oh, yeah, we had
Defibrillators,
a
yeah.
couple of defibrillators that, need to get rid of. So
Motion to approve.
Motion by Gable,
Second.
second by Johnson. Any discussion? How do you destroy defibrillators?
the reason we're not looking at selling them is they're out of date, out of compliance. And so that's why we're getting rid of them. And then for us to sell them would be a liability to the county. So.
Okay, sounds good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13 is action to declare tasers, holsters, batteries, and cartridges at the sheriff's office surplus to be donated. I think you have that list in your packet, Commissioners.
There's a whole list of tasers with their serial numbers and some, some equipment that goes along with that Taser X26P with the city upgrading to the Taser 10s. We got some Taser 7s. We've also upgraded to some Taser 10s. We have no need for the X26Ps that we have. I've reached out to our partners at Lake Area Tech College in the law enforcement program, and they said that they could use them for their training purposes because there's still some agencies that are using that style Taser. They were excited to be able to get these if we can surplus these to them, but still get good use out of them for their training purposes and the equipment that we have. With
So
them.
the motion would be to donate these tasers to the Lake Area Tech Law Enforcement Program.
Yes.
We have a motion by Johnson and a second by McElhaney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. I think that's it for you, isn't it?
I think that's all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Let's
thank
back up to the facility manager report now and get Steve back up here. Whoa. Morning, Steve.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. Well, we'll start out with the ag building. Staff has been setting up and cleaning up for functions throughout the extension center this past month. Of course, like it's been stated by Tyler, they had the Boys and Girls Club event this last weekend. The staff, started to working on the rotted post on the west side of the ag building. We have discovered some of them, there's nothing underneath. Excuse me, I got a cold. Met with Waylon Bayless from Banner Engineering to figure out the resolution for solving the concrete heaving, especially by the doors. We're going to try to see if we can't turn around and probably put a couple stoops in a couple spots. You know, this has been the project was really good, but we've been having little issues with that sidewalk. So, government building. I met with clerk of courts director about a month ago on some chairs at the attorney's desk. That is falling apart. The vinyl is starting to peel off and so that. This is up in the courtroom, up in second floor. Which I do have that on the agenda and stuff. Have some drain issues that's both in our little fountains outside. Some people have been pouring and it's been backing up. We're thinking about probably covering it so nobody can pour something down those drains.
Be pouring.
We're figuring out they're pouring some water or pop and stuff like that down them, and we've tried to turn around and put drain and stuff like that. There's something that's probably further down. We haven't really figured out. The other issue is the women's bathroom. Been leaking up in the ceiling in the clerk of courts. We're gonna get somebody to come in and get a camera to go through to see if there's pit holes or something going on. You got to realize this building's nearly 100 years old, so we're going to start having some issues on some piping. So at the park, there's been 491 reservations with a revenue of $68,424 as of 4/26, the end of Sunday. Some of the park staff started a couple weeks ago, still looking for more park staff. Had some trees trimming done due to the high winds over this past winter and spring. We've got plenty of cleanup. The Isaac Walton path is horrendous. So yeah, with all the stuff going down. Currently right now trying to get everything in the camping area done.
Donuts.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got it.
Oh, it was Lee. Okay.
That was me. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Steve.
I guess he can come back with
Yep,
donuts,
yep,
right?
yep.
Thank you.
There goes the diet.
Go ahead.
Search and rescue crews been set the buoys out in the swimming area a couple weeks ago. And then the water system is scheduled to be running by Thursday because our first camping weekend is this weekend. We do have one reservation for this weekend so far.
Yeah, the dock is in.
Yeah, he put the dock in, I believe probably yesterday is when he put the dock in, so. Attended a couple of, for the weed department, attended a couple neighboring county weed annual meetings. I went to the State Weed Commission meeting last week. And then the townships are returning their spray requests that were sent out back in March. And now we're going to talk about the other subject. We got West Nile starting to come up. I'll be attending the mosquito workshop this week. Plus the fogger will be fogged and stuff like that, calibrated. I'm having a few little issues with it. I've been doing a little digging. There's some parts. I'm going to probably try to find something with some used parts, but currently right now, some of the parts on it are not no longer available. So I might have to start the budget for a new fogger for next year. So
Do we fog the campground?
City generally will go through the campground when they're fogging in that area because of that generally. It has been in the past, the fog once in a while, so that, but yeah, most generally when the trap triggers that's out at the park, city will go through and fog.
Are the townships coming back pretty strong? You got a good
Currently, right now, I think I got a couple of them I'm missing yet. Those two though have indicated I think 4 of them left to come in. 2 out of the 4 have indicated already, same as what we've done before. So I don't look for one to come in. They just basically, just do what we've done before. So, yep, so. And that pretty well covers what I have to have, so.
Okay, any questions for our facility manager? If not, let's move down to the chairs. Steve, this is probably you too, I guess.
Yep.
Discussion possible action to approve quotes for 3 courtroom chairs. Should have those in your packet from Office
Correct.
Peeps.
One of the quotes and stuff like that, which is the highest quality one and stuff like that, is for $1,077 a piece, which 3 of them would come to be $3,231. And then the other one is a mid-grade one, which is $798 a piece, comes to $2,394. And $415 comes to $1,245. I did reach out yesterday to the clerk of courts to ask which one that they felt which would probably be most desirable, that because this would be coming out of the judicial budget. The mid-range one is what was stated would be well qualified enough to be up there.
And so that amount would
And you
be,
said this will come out of the judicial budget?
Yes, yep,
It's not your budget?
no,
so is that the grade 2 then, Steve?
Yep, the grade 2, yep.
31?
yep.
Right, looking for a motion.
No,
Motion to
no,
approve.
the
Hold on.
2394. You said 30, yeah, 2394.
I'll second.
798 a piece.
Yeah, I'll second.
I don't have a
Tony's motion.
2390.
Hold on, stand by just a minute, Commissioner Gable.
Yeah.
Probably didn't get them all printed, probably.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay,
but the total for those is $4,485.
Yeah.
That's if you do, I think that's if you do all 3 together, but you're looking at the
So
subtotal.
that's
for
the
each
total
one.
list.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
that's
so-
what that is. Yeah.
Okay, so the motion is to take grade 2 at $2,394.
yes.
Okay,
Okay.
can we have a motion from Commissioner Gable? We have a second?
Yeah, that's the list.
Commissioner McElhaney seconds the motion. Any discussion? All
Just
in
to,
favor?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify on the budget. So there's a budget line called judicial systems, and that's where this comes out of, correct, Steve?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have for you. Item number 15 is action to approve abatement applications.
Okay,
16, action to approve claims for payment. I know we have some of those.
just one. It's the salary claims for April. Total amount is $838,504.32.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by McElhaney, second by Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Action to approve budget supplements.
None today.
Action to approve personnel changes.
Travel.
Okay, that takes care of 18 and 19. Public notices, a possible quorum of commissioners could be in attendance at. Commissioners, do you have anything this week?
Mr. Chair, I got one question.
Commissioner McElhaney.
Is that, in your report, you said you're going to a West Nile?
Yeah, I'm going to a workshop, this week.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you already have a travel request in?
Yes.
Last week
Okay, last week.
or
All
week
right, all right.
before.
Yeah, some, a couple weeks ago.
Gotcha.
Okay. Nothing? Nothing else? All right. Anything for old business, number 21, old business?
Just, Mr. Chair, just quick on the jail, just continues on a lot of the truss work on area B. That's the central part where a lot of the lobby, the booking and all that is. That's in place. They're starting to do some of the plumbing that goes underground there. And then the roof decking should start going on possibly this week. So just in that area. And then meanwhile, some of the precast for area A, which is the main housing area for inmates, that is going to be starting to be erected soon. So just to let folks know.
All right, very good. Thank you for the update, Commissioner Gable. Anything else for old business? Commissioners, anything for new business? Anything for new business? Okay. Item number 23 is the open for public comments. Get Mr. Doug Allen back up here. Good morning, Mr. Allen, and welcome back. You push the button there for me, sir, if you would. There you go.
Morning, Doug Allen. My question for the commissioners is relative to the opioid settlement dollars. The county is sitting on approximately $87,000 of what will roughly be $256,000 in total, I believe. The city's share was around 160 some odd $1,000, and we have spent that money primarily with the police department. They hired an individual to help assist our mental health expert. And my question is, do you have a plan to spend the 87 you have now, or eventually the 256? Is that something that you've decided what you're going to do with or not yet? And what's the process for that?
Madam Auditor, I'll have you help answer
Sure.
that question. I think
There
that's
is a
required.
committee, yes, that has been put together. Lee, you can maybe allude to some
Yeah,
of this.
I'll do that on commission
Sheriff's-
comments.
Yeah,
I can
Sheriff's
comment on
Office
commission comments.
also has
Yeah.
some uses now when the new jail is in service or being used. I believe there's some items that he plans to utilize these dollars for.
Okay. Just, curious about the timeline for that expenditure. And then just a final comment relative to the approval that you did for the flock cameras. I think it's a debatable thing, but I wanted to clarify that it's not a lack of trust of law enforcement. That's misinformation when people claim that concerns relative to individual privacy are a lack of trust in law enforcement. I don't believe that's the case. I think we trust law enforcement. But when you talk about auditing things and the auditor is the individual that is responsible for it, that's not really an audit. In other words, the sheriff's department has complete control over who they give access to, when they give access to it, and then they monitor whether that's being appropriately decided or not. That's not really an audit. I mean, if I do an audit of city finance, for example, I don't have the city finance officer do the audit. I hire an auditing firm and they come in and audit the performance of the city finance. I think that's the level of transparency and concern that we ought to have for this. There should be some external audit that happens. It shouldn't be just internal to the department, because that doesn't really adequately provide the public with a sense that things are being done appropriately. And that's true. I don't care whether it's our city manager or whomever it is. We need an external audit to really provide the public with the kind of confidence that we ought to have. And again, not an issue of trust. That would be like me saying, we don't trust the city finance officer. That's not true. But I think you need an external audit. So that'd be my final comment on that. So
Thank
thanks
you,
for
Mr.
your
Allen.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Anything else for public comments? Mr. Simmons?
Thanks again. Appreciate it. James Simmons. Just again, wanted to comment on the vote. Again, appreciate all the time and the attention to this matter. Disappointed with the vote, but I appreciate you put it on the record. So thank you for that. I heard the term misinformation get thrown around quite a lot. I just wanted to address some of the points, I suppose. I would ask, is it misinformation that the U.S. Congress wrote a letter to the FTC telling them to investigate Flock for negligent cybersecurity practices? Is it misinformation that Flock themselves acknowledged they've got a 2-page list of third-party sources that they pull into their system that's not from their own cameras, that's data that they purchase outside of their own system? Is it misinformation that they failed a penetration test and have 60 vulnerabilities on the system? I mean, is this fear mongering or is this actual real world data that exists? So I disagree with that. And I also disagree with the sheriff when he said that I made a false statement when I answered your question about if we cancel the contract, whose right is it to take the cameras out and remove them? Do we have to wait on Flock to do that? He says it's misinformation. It's a false statement that they leave the cameras in and running. I think Verona, Wisconsin would disagree with that. I think Eugene, Oregon would disagree with that. I think Staunton, Virginia would disagree with that. And I think Evanston, Illinois would disagree with that. Evanston had to file a cease and desist letter to Flock to take the cameras out after they canceled the contract. Is all of that misinformation? I don't think it is. Also, Deputy Chief Solom mentioned that these cameras take still images. That's a false statement. In July of 2025, Flock themselves publicly announced that all their customers can make their cameras video footage, not still images. So they capture more than just a snapshot picture. They capture video footage. And the state's attorney said that these things basically give you the same access that a cell phone data would give you. Arguably, that's not false, but to get cell phone data, the Supreme Court ruled you can't just go log into a system and track somebody on their cell phone. You have to go to a judge, you have to have probable cause, you have to have a signed warrant to get cell phone data. You don't have to have a signed warrant to access Flock. Is that misinformation? No, it's not. So sorry if I sound frustrated. I disagree with the misinformation framing. So thanks for your time. I will be putting in a few public records requests to see the audit logs and to find out what the camera locations are going to be if they add more than the 4. And thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for public comments? Nothing else for public comments? Commissioner comments?
Mr. Chair, just to follow up on Mr. Allen's question about opioid funding. So I guess the county approach, since we had the opportunity with the COSSIP grant, which is a large grant that deals with a similar area as opioid funding, that's one area we've been focused on getting that project together. So that's, as you guys know, that's a pretty big grant that we got from the feds. And then the other piece is we have been doing applying for opioid grants from the state. So from the state funding, so they have an opioid pot of opioid settlement money as well. So, and they offer local jurisdictions the opportunity to apply for grants. So we've been, for now conserving the stuff that's directly given to the county in the settlement because we've been focused on those two things. And then as Brenda mentioned, so Sarah and Angie, also, so this is partly coordinated under our COSIP grant, have been working on putting together the opioid task force so we can meet with the city, county, HSA, and a few other concerned agencies about how best to use those monies holistically, whether it's county money, city money, or state money. So trying to take a deliberate approach and just have not gotten to our pot of money. And like Brenda said, also the sheriff has had some, he's working on some ideas on how to make use of those funds. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Allen, I'm sure you could have that discussion with the sheriff too, if there's, any questions that you have there about those. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other commissioner comments? If not, I would just have one that I would like to follow up to Mr. Allen's comment there about the audit and just say that, yeah, we understand that sometimes it's not the best thing to have the person that's managing the system do the audit. And so my comment, when I made that comment about having the state's attorney go in and verify that the audit's being done correctly is maybe a possible solution to that. There also could be maybe room for an external audit to be conducted in partnership with our sheriff. Now, that would be up to the sheriff's office to determine that, but maybe it's a community member such as yourself or somebody that has a concern about that, partnering with our sheriff's department and working together to conduct an outside audit. Okay, so like our state's attorney said, and like our sheriff said, we want to be 100% transparency on this. We want to make sure that we're doing things the way that it's supposed to be done, that the system is being utilized the way that the system is designed to be utilized, and what we're being told the way it's going to be utilized. And if there is ever a concern with that, we will shut it down. Okay, but the issue with the audit, I think that's something that can definitely probably be discussed with the sheriff and in this commission up here, and just for the sake of transparency, if anything else. Okay, all right. Any other comments? All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. I'm sorry, but that's where I'm at. So, all right. Do we have a need to go into executive session?
Yes, we do.
Okay, for the purpose of?
Contract negotiations.
Contract negotiations, which will be Subsection,
Move to go into executive
subsection
session.
3, do we anticipate any action following exec?
No.
Item number
No.
3.
Okay, well, we do have a motion to go into executive session by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner McElhaney. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are now in executive session. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you.
Simmons.